there is, an 8-minute window that you get with your doctor. And that just doesn't seem like enough to really uncover all those core issues and really dive into a deeper understanding and look at the person's condition, not only with the symptoms that they checked off on the intake form, but their emotional effects to that. How's it affecting their relationships? How's it affecting their livelihood, their activities of daily living? All of that seems so much more important than calling a disease a certain name.
Thank you so much for joining us on another awesome episode. Hold on, I'm going to start over because I was a little too high. There we go. Thank you so much for joining us on another awesome episode of Bioenergetics Beat. I'm Heather Gray, a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner and certified bioenergetic practitioner. And today's episode is brought to you by Nikki, Unleash the Wellness Within. It's a non-invasive, easily affordable, highly effective approach to optimize wellness. It's a wearable device that puts frequency better based life in your hands and on your wrist. Make sure to stick to the very end because we have an amazing giveaway you're not going to want to miss. But as usual, you're not going to want to miss one word out of my next guest's mouth because it's funny. I actually have some, cupping hickeys on my neck and shoulder as we speak, so I think that it's awesome that we're talking with a cupping expert here. And most people who see these marks on me, they're like, what is that from? You've been making out with an octopus and, all the jokes. So, it's something that a therapy I absolutely adore, especially someone who's dealt with chronic pain and, accidents and just that type of stuff. But I really want to jump into, let's say, welcome, Dr. Tom, to the show. Yay!
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm super excited to talk a little deeper because it's something I've used personally and it was funny. So I was in such a mess last week and I did the little chair massage and she's like, "Oh, I wish I had some cups." And I was like, "I've got cups at home. Why didn't I think of that?" So I came home, did the cups and I can actually move my shoulders again. Like they're amazing, but I don't know the background. I don't know why it is how they work. But before we get into that, let's get into a little bit about you. Like what's
hmm
your background?
So I am at the end of this month. I'm going to start my 25th year as a licensed acupuncturist and traditional East Asian medicine practitioner.
That's incredible.
So I have when I started out, I wanted to be pre-med. And I was looking for a better way of doing things. In fact, my grandfather was a pharmacist, and I tell this story so often. He was counting out pills,
Uh-huh.
and the person that he was counting out pills for was on a very fixed budget. Basically, he was a day laborer. And he goes, "This guy needs to take 3 of these a day, and the pills are $5 a piece. Do you know how big of a hit that is for him?"
Wow.
And he looked at me and he said, "There's got to be a better way, and I hope you find it." And that went
No
into my
pressure.
memory. That went into my memory bank. I completely forgot about that. He passed probably the next year. And when I was in college and I was sitting there doing my pre-med classes, that memory came back to my head. And I was like, I don't know if I want to go into Western medicine. I want to spend more time with my patients. I want to develop a practice that has a community feel, and I want to make meaningful changes in people's lives. I'm not saying that doctors don't. I'm not saying that Western medicine hasn't contributed to our longevity and our well-being. But there is, an 8-minute window that you get with your doctor. And that just doesn't seem like enough to really uncover all those core issues and really dive into a deeper understanding and look at the person's condition, not only with the symptoms that they checked off on the intake form, but their emotional effects to that. How's it affecting their relationships? How's it affecting their livelihood, their activities of daily living? All of that seems so much more important than calling a disease a certain name. And East Asian medicine is one of the many traditional therapies that really looks at the whole being. And through a Chinese philosophy course, a Tai Chi elective after classes, I got warped. And during my junior year of college, I got a postcard in the mail from an acupuncture school, like in that intercession for Christmas break. And my junior year, second semester, spring semester, I'm signed up for my acupuncture program alongside of my second semester of my junior year. And I never looked back.
That's absolutely incredible. I've thought about becoming an acupuncturist. I really wanted to do chiropractic, but there's no
Mhm.
chiropractic schools in Colorado at the time, and I had a kid and I didn't want to move him.
Yeah.
But acupuncture is always really intrigued me, but yeah, I still
Eh,
just never got around to doing it.
they say never ask a barber if you need a haircut. You'll end up looking like me. But I would lean into acupuncture school before chiropractic. And it's not that chiropractors aren't great. I feel that the medicine itself has a longer history. It's more evidence based, if we want to talk about it that way.
Mm,
And there's a lot more I think you can do within that. And I think a lot of chiropractors are picking up acupuncture needles, and a lot of other allied health professionals are doing something called dry needling, which I like. Once again, this is my opinion. I feel like it's just undertrained acupuncture.
mm,
And master of all trades, jack of all trades, master of none is okay when we're talking about being kind of a renaissance man. But when you want somebody that does something, I mean, even medical doctors specialize and they all have the same degree. So I would leave the acupuncture to the acupuncturist. I know Colorado still has a couple of great schools. COVID hit our education system pretty hard.
mm.
A lot of schools didn't make it, but Colorado's got some great practitioners and some great schools out there where I do think long term it's a good field. I think there's a lot of effort you have to put into it to create a practice and survive. But I would never change anything.
Hmm, that's incredible. Yeah, that's the part that I'm struggling with because as a functional diagnostic nutrition
Yeah,
practitioner, I've
yeah.
already been trying to make a business and have not been successful at it. So just saying that makes me go, nope, I'm out.
It's a rough one, and I think people that go into our fields, there has to be a passion for it,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
And you don't do it because you're thinking you're going to be the richest man in Babylon. You're doing it to have an impact on people's lives, and hopefully, someday we'll
You get
string
to
those
eat.
yeah, those right words together, and now all of a sudden we're on TV and we're the go-to person. At least that's the dream.
Right.
But really, I've been in Baltimore now for close to 20 years, and I can tell you how many thousands of people I've treated, and I'm just honored to have their trust and an impact on people.
Okay. Well, actually, that's a little great segue. Tell us a little bit about acupuncture and why it's so powerful.
Yeah, yeah. So acupuncture, if we talk about it from a traditional system, we're going to talk about the meridians, the channels that run up and down the body, that not only tell us where this energy is flowing, but they give us information to the inside of the body. The signs and symptoms of diseases, where we're strong, where we're weak, how we're doing emotionally, all of that through thousands of years of what I'll call research. Chinese practitioners put this together and developed this system. So when somebody's out of balance, when something's wrong, our body is giving us all this information constantly. And us as practitioners are trying to string that all together, a bunch of mild signs and symptoms in some cases to kind of steer the course and have that body enter homeostasis again. Now, we do that by putting the needles in and saying we're correcting the flow of energy. Now, here's the weird thing: we have more modern studies, more systematic reviews in the Cochrane database than physical therapy and chiropractic put together. Most of them were to try to disprove the claims acupuncture was making. Now, oddly enough, they said, look, we can't find this chi, we can't find these damn channels, but everything they're saying is happening. Now, when we look at the basic research, and this is a little bit more Western minded, which seems to be more palatable for us here, we see some overarching cascade effects with acupuncture. The number one thing, and we talk about this all the time when we talk about stress and burnout and these things and all these restorative therapies we do, regulation of the autonomic nervous system. We have a powerful effect on the vagus nerve, the wandering nerve that touches all our systems and tells us whether or not we're stressed out or we're
You
healthy.
just reminded me to text my acupuncturist. I'm
Yeah.
going through a divorce right now,
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
and the stress level is real. And I'm
Uh,
like, not even making it through. I was like, what can I do? I've done all my breath work. I've done all my, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I need to contact Hugh and I need to get on his table and he needs to give me some needles.
Yeah, yeah.
So thank you.
And it's such an amazing thing because I love mental health so much. I love talk therapy. It's absolutely great. And I have such a healthy referral system between me and the so many LCSWs, psychologists, psychiatrists, because they understand that mind body connection. And when people are stuck, when people are plateauing in their talk therapy, they come into me, they go back and they have this giant breakthrough. And it's not me. I don't want to make it sound like me, but they get the acupuncture treatment and something has changed where the physical and the emotional and the psychological is lined up. And it's amazing. And we can help regulate immune system. I think I told you before we got on the number of chronic illness patients I have, the mold, the Lyme, the Epstein-Barr, all those things that are not supposed to stick around in our body that affect so many Americans and so many people globally. Uh, we're not promising a cure, but we're helping their immune system function. We're helping them with those signs and symptoms they're dealing with in the moment, and hopefully help building them up. Acupuncture, one of my favorite expressions, comes from one of our classical texts, and it sounds so meaningless until you become an acupuncturist and you do it for 20 some odd years. And then you're like, no, that's the heart of it. Acupuncture is an expression of humanity. And really, what we're trying to do is restore that humanity to that patient on the table, but it's that interaction. So you come see me versus your acupuncturist too. I'm not trying to convert you. There's no reason to fly out to Baltimore, but that interaction is going to be different with me than it is with him. And that's going to be different with every other practitioner. And hopefully, all of those practitioners have that humanity that is helping that patient that's on that table. And I know I'm talking very esoteric and very kind of floaty, but that's the core of it. That's the philosophy. When we look at the studies, I can say, hell yes, we regulate autoimmune function. We can raise white blood cell. We can lower it if we need to. We can improve digestion. And all of this comes through stimulating the vagus nerve, playing with blood flow, because we put the needle in and your body goes, hey, that's not supposed to be there. And it changes how we send blood through the body. So
Hmm.
we can regulate all these systems. And when we're talking about the mental health aspects, one of the greatest things about it is when you're on the table, even if you're talking to me, after about 10 or 15 minutes, your brain waves mirror what deep meditation looks like.
Hmm.
So you get this kind of mental reset. We know that when you get an acupuncture treatment, serotonin and dopamine levels normalize. That's your anxiety and depression when those are off. We know we're kicking out oxytocin, right? You'll bond to people better. You'll have more interpersonal connections. We also found out in the 90s of this system called the endocannabinoid system, right? This is naturally occurring marijuana like substances in our body. During acupuncture, we kick out a compound called anandamide. Ananda is Sanskrit for bliss. So we literally are kicking out a molecule that bonds to your brain and your nervous system, your systemic nervous system, that makes you feel blissful. A lot of people leave after treatment feel a little high. You're fine to drive. You're not gonna
Oh, I have to sit in my car for like
Yeah.
5 minutes to get back into my body.
Yeah,
Like I'm
and
like,
kind of ground a little bit, right?
yeah.
But that is one of the added benefits when we get you into that, what I'll call the default repair mode. All of these things line up, and there's this period after the treatment where that's still working, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yep, yep, yep. Nope, that's definitely what I need to do. I'm so glad. I'm so blessed that I mean, there's no coincidences. Obviously, you were meant to be on the show with me this morning to remind me. But yeah, so we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to
Sure, sure.
dive deeper into cupping. What is it? How did it get started? How does it work? And all that fun stuff. So don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hi, my name's Nicole. I want to tell you about this really cool device that I've got. It's called Nikki. I got it from Freemedica at their website, wearenikki.com. And it is what they call bioenergetic wearable frequency delivery device, and it has a bunch of different frequency sets on it, like nighttime, pain, sleep, stress and anxiety, travel, viruses and bacteria, and other things like that. I really, really love this device. In fact, I have two of them because when one is charging, I want to wear the other because I'm never without it. My top 3 frequencies, so I wear nighttime every night. I really need good sleep. I don't get good sleep unless I'm wearing nighttime. So that's a big one for me, and it helps me just kind of get to sleep. I put it on maybe about half an hour or so before I'm going to go to bed, and then I have a really good 8 hours of sleep, 7-8 hours. My other one, I have arthritis in my neck, so I use the pain frequency every day. I am not without that frequency. I need it. It just really helps me to be fluid and to not have a lot of headaches or different things that go on with having arthritis in my neck. And my other frequency, I use stress and anxiety on the regular because I do morning prayer and meditation every morning. And the stress and anxiety just helps kind of calm everything down so that I can be present to do what I need to do in my meditation. I will say other frequencies that I use on the regular, when I'm leaving the house, I use travel because I'm leaving my environment and I don't know what's out there, and I just want to make sure that I am, somewhat protected or have the best chance against whatever might be out there for me. And if I feel a little tickle of something coming on, I do use viruses and bacteria too. Like I said, I have 2 of them. I kind of made it my own because I put a band on it that I really love, and I can't get enough of it.
Nikki Wellness Technology. Delivering frequency enhanced health. We are Nikki.com.
Fantastic. Welcome back. Man, I learned lots the first half. Did you? I'm so excited. Let's dive deeper into cupping, shall we?
Yeah, sure.
That's you, Tom. Over to
I
you,
was like,
Tom.
I think you just threw to me. So cupping, and one of the reasons I wrote a book about it was because this was a traditional practice that was done in homes. It was actually kind of Chinese medicine picked it up in 300 AD when a very famous acupuncturist physician talked about cupping in kind of these terms where he's like, look, I know it's being done all over the world. I know it's being done in households. We look down upon it because we're physicians, but it has so much value that we should be using it in our clinics. And that's really when cupping got solidified as part and parcel of traditional Chinese medicine or traditional East Asian medicine. Now, that being said, its history is lost in time. Our oldest textbook we have about cupping is called the Ebers Papyrus. It's an Egyptian text that dates to 1515 BC. And not only is the Ebers Papyrus amazing because it talks in depth about cupping, it had surgical procedures. We do modern day things that are similar to that now. Yes, we're using anesthesia. Yes, we're using stainless steel, but they were doing nose reconstruction. They were doing all these amazing things. So we had a deep level understanding of how the body worked long before we got to the modern times. But their discussion on cupping had to come from somewhere, right? They wrote it down, but they knew about it before then. We're not sure if it came from Greece. We're not sure if it came from Persia. We're not sure if it came from Egypt. We're not sure if it just kind of manifested. It just kind of came, but it was always folk medicine. It was always in people's houses. When I was teaching at an acupuncture school in Manhattan, we had this large, uh, you know, group of students that came in from overseas, right? So we had them from all over the world. Every time we talked about cupping, didn't matter what country somebody was from, grandma used to do that, right? So now, and traditionally what we would do is something called fire cupping, where we use a glass jar, or traditionally it was a section of bamboo, a clay pot, a buffalo horn, and we would run fire in it real quick, not to heat up the cup, but to burn the oxygen and create a vacuum, and then stick that to the body. Well, now, and you said it at the opening of the show, we have tools that are made out of silicone, they're plastic with a pump, and sometimes it is tricky to get them on yourself,
It was.
but if you have somebody to help you out, I will say both of my kids have been putting cups on me since they were 5. Sometimes
I can't teach my cat how to do that,
no, you
unfortunately.
cannot. But with a little bit of training and some basic guide rules, you can learn how to do cupping at home. You can buy silicone cups that'll last you longer than you'll
I
be
was
here.
shocked what I could get on Amazon. I was
Yeah.
like, wow, look at this selection. That's incredible.
And it seemed like such an amazing time to one, turn some healing power back to the households. Two, we've eliminated the fire, we've eliminated the glass, we've made it infinitely safer. So yes, it's probably stronger if you come to see a practitioner that does fire cupping, but we can modulate that by keeping the cups on a little bit longer. We can modulate it by doing it more frequently. And if that's sitting in your gym bag or sitting on a shelf next to in your medicine cabinet, you have the ability to access that when you need to. The other cool thing about the silicone cups and the plastic cups, they come in a lot more sizes. So traditionally, cupping is great on the longer, flatter muscles along the back, the neck, the shoulders, the thighs. With these modern cups, some of them are small enough to get on your wrist, some of them are small enough to get on your forearm. So you have more
Your
places
heel
that you
when you
can
have
cup.
plantar fasciitis.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what I would say, a little caveat, if you're using that, work the calf too.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
If you can release some of the tension in the Achilles, you'll take pressure off the heel, which will release the plantar tendon.
Yep. 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 Hey, do you have, by chance, do you have a cup with you? So just in
I
case people who've never, don't even know what we're talking about, like
do
what does
I
it look
have a
like?
cup with me? So I'm going to show you a couple of different ones, and this one actually comes in
There
a
you go.
set of 12.
That's what I started with.
And they're like nesting dolls, and I love them
Yep.
because if you stick them together, they're about the size of a tennis ball, right? Fits in your gym bag, fits in your glove box, put them wherever. A set is under 20 bucks. Other styles, still silicone, just squeeze it on. And now I'm putting it on the palm of my hand just so it's easier for me to show you. The plastic ones, I have a kit, but it's going to make a hell of a lot of noise for me to dig that out.
Yeah.
There's
No, no. You're good.
electric ones now. My book covers all of that because I wanted to present an overview, knowing that I couldn't take a photo of everyone, but give you the different categories and give you the information to have an informed purchase. And the other great thing is, like, you're not going to buy the wrong set. And if you do, you're in it for less than $20.
Right. No,
Yeah, yeah,
absolutely. I was
you know?
shocked at what I could get at home. I was like, you're kidding me. I thought only practitioners had access to this because I was dealing with a wicked case of plantar fasciitis. Turned out
Yeah.
it was worse than that. It was a torn Achilles. It was
Ooh.
the calves. It was ligament tendon tears. But, so it wasn't a wonder that acupuncture and cupping didn't get it better, but it was definitely, it helped heal for sure. But I was just shocked, like I said, at what I could get at home. And then now to be able to have those things and not have to go somewhere all the time. Um, I noticed when I did mine the other day that like one is deep, deep purple and the other ones are lighter in color. What does
Yeah.
that mean?
So this is, if you go on Pinterest or you go on Instagram and you search for cupping charts, you're gonna see a whole bunch of things. If it's darker, there's more blood stasis, more stagnation. Oh, that means there's more. They'll use the term sha, and that comes from gua sha, which is
Oh,
scraping.
yeah, yeah.
Gua means to scrape, sha means sand. So when we do gua sha, the adhesions in the fascia kind of feel like you're going over sandpaper,
Mm,
which is where that name came from. Now, it's not exactly Sha in the traditional sense because you're not doing a technique to draw Sha up. I I would say in some cases it is more stagnation. In
mm.
some cases there is a psycho-emotional component, like maybe you covered the heart area or the lung area and there's sadness, there's grief, there's lack of sleep, there could be physical symptoms in that area too. The muscles are just tighter. Sometimes it comes down to a function of how many superficial blood vessels are there. Did you just move that part of your body so you have more circulation there, right? The day after Michael Phelps swam and he had the cut marks,
Mhm.
my local news, I'm in Baltimore. Michael Phelps was originally from Baltimore. He's a hometown
Ah,
hero. My local news is in there. hammering me with questions. I demoed it, I showed it, and they're like, "Oh God, he had these super dark cups." And it's like, yeah, because he literally jumped out of the water, laid down on a table, and a trainer put the cups on. He still had blood pumping everywhere.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Not to mention he probably shaved his body, so he had no hair and he got a really good suction. So
Right.
of course those are going to be darker. So
Mm.
darkness does, and it can indicate some blood stasis, some stagnation, a deeper internal condition, or it could just be, hey, that area has more blood flow.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
I was shocked because I
yeah,
got the part where it hurt and then two parts directly next to it. And the part that it hurt was like almost
purple.
black.
Yeah, yeah.
And the other two parts next to it were like barely pink. And I was like, holy crap.
And that's a good indicator, right? That you hit a good spot. Sometimes we'll put them on and I'm like, I know 90% of the people, if I put it on their scapula, not that much tissue there, that one's going to be dark.
Ah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So we're getting to, so what are some of the things that people use cupping for?
Yeah, so number one, and this is the most heavily researched modern times, is pain, right? Neck and shoulder pain, low back pain. Traditionally, and we even see this reference in The Godfather Part 2, respiratory disorders. So, oh yeah, now you're going to go back and watch The Godfather Part 2. Nona is treating Fredo on the kitchen table, big water glass right on his sternum, right as an infant. This is a flashback because they refer to Fredo as sickly. I know I'm Italian. I'm not that into the Godfather series, but I know that reference because immediately it struck a chord with me. But chest congestion, getting over colds, flus, bronchitis, emphysema, those kind of things to break up stuff in the chest. We
Hmm.
know that we increase blood flow about 6 inches into the body when we put cups on, right?
Oh.
That's crazy, right? And then
'Cause
some
I'm like,
some
how do I get cups on my lungs? I don't understand.
so above the breast tissue on a
Gotcha.
female,
Yeah.
or upper back, anywhere the
Huh.
lungs are, or anywhere where the ribs are
Well, I
covering,
didn't
or
realize it went
essentially
down six
covering the
inches, so
lungs.
that's crazy.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're increasing circulation that deep. And that being said, we can also use it for digestive issues. It's a little weird. It feels a little weird to put them on the abdomen. You can. We can also put them on the lower back because the intestines are on,
Mm.
covering the whole inside of that cavity. So with a little bit of training, a little bit, can help with diarrhea, constipation, those kind of things. And then just overall increasing circulation to the intestines is going to improve digestion.
Wow. That's incredible. And such an inexpensive tool that you can use at home. Like, God bless. This is the shameless plug time of the show. Well, the other thing I like to do for pain too is, obviously using the
Yeah.
Nikki on the pain frequency in conjunction with, it's amazing. But yes, this is the shameless plug time of the show. So tell us about your book. Where can people find you?
Yeah. Yeah. So I was as direct as I possibly could. I called the book The Cupping Book. And I literally wrote it thinking not as a practitioner, not as let's talk about all this ton of research, but what would grandma have told you?
Mm,
Knowing what's out there as far as products, knowing what you need to know to get off the ground and running in your home is not a lot of knowledge. There's very few safety considerations. We go deep into that. And we talk about like the oils you can use and the liniments you can put down and where to put the cups. And there's photos. And of course, it's 131 pages cover to cover. When I was getting it published, they're like, well, it's a small book. And then, of course, my male ego kicks in, and I'm like, what do you mean it's small? This is the amount of information that needs to be in there. Right. But I
I
wanted
can
it.
appreciate that because I get so sick sometimes of this extra crap that doesn't belong in there. I'm like, man, this could be cut down and it could be half the size. So thank you.
And
I
that was it.
appreciate that. I
I
appreciate
wanted it to
that.
be a down and dirty. You read it in a couple of hours
Amen.
and
Thank
you are
you.
running.
Yay.
Now
Yeah,
that's the nuts and bolts of it.
I'm
It doesn't
excited.
have to
I
be
know what I'm going to buy
heavy.
as soon as we get off here.
Thank you.
Because I have a set. I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh. So this is perfect. I'm so excited. Dr. Tom, thank you so much.
Oh, no problem. This was great. There's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Hey, also make sure to visit wearenikki.com/podcast, enter in BioBeats for 10% off. And because we really love our customers and the way we show appreciation, we give away a Nikki device as well as a wellness set of frequencies, a $598 value on every show. Make sure to go to the show notes, find Dr. Tom, and find out how to enter. Good luck. Thank you for joining us and have a healthy day. Tell us a little bit about your experience with the Nikki.
Yeah. So this has been cool. I mean, so I've recognized that frequency has a huge role, and everything is frequency, right? Our communication, there's frequency going back and forth. The touch of another person. So full disclosure, it was funny when I first met Stephen and was introduced to the watch. I was like, dude, another device, really? And then one of my buddies was like, do not discount this. This is a amazing device. You've got to give it a chance. And I remember at the eco seminar. So if you don't know what eco is, it's 3 days jam packed. It's almost like TED Talk style, where people are talking all about health on a pretty deep level. And it's easy to lose focus because there's so much information coming in at one time. And I had the device. And so I think day 2, I put it on. I'm like, I'm going to give this a try. I put it on focus, maybe halfway through the day as I was losing focus. And I'm pretty sensitive. I recognize when things are changing within me. And within about 10 minutes of turning on this focus frequency, I feel like my brain is just like, I'm connected. Like, wow, I am really here. I'm present. My mind is no longer wandering. I'm really engaged in what the speaker is saying. My note taking got better. And I'm like, oh, okay, there's something to this. And so I brought it home, sharing it with my wife. And she's like, oh my gosh, I want to try it, of course. Ended up getting another one. And so what's been really cool with her is as she's going through hormonal changes and kind of perimenopause, during her cycle, like way more regulated, like little to no headaches anymore. The emotional roller coaster that happens throughout some of those days is way more even keeled. And she's kind of experimented. She was like, I'm not going to use the device. Let's see what happens. And she recognizes, wow, there is a big difference when I'm using this frequency versus when I'm not. And then with patients, I mean, this has been remarkable where my family is not, I would not classify any of us as chronically sick. We have our challenges, but not in the way that my patients do. And some of them have had transformational change where they've gone through Lyme Daily, they've done well, they've had to do some trial and error with frequency because frequency can cause detox too. But as they're working through it, like back pain's gone away, headaches, like we're talking headaches that have been around for decades. And using some of the frequencies, the headaches have gone away. Feel like there's just more pep in their step as they're walking. They're able to get out and take walks every day. So it's been fantastic using this in combination with what we already do, with protocols, with some of the energy work that we do. It's really been a significant benefit, and I'm happy to be able to use it and have it.
Nikki Wellness Technology. Delivering frequency enhanced health. wearenikki.com. The views, information, and opinions expressed in this content are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of Remedica. Remedica Technologies, Inc. and its employees are not responsible, nor verifies accuracy any of the information contained in the following content. The primary purpose of this content is to educate and inform. This content does not constitute medical or other professional advice or services.